Good morning and welcome to another edition of Roadhouse Live. We are live. Today is September 20th, 2023. We have Fed Day. Fed Day, everybody. Fed Day. Bender, do you like a Fed Day?
I guess we'll find out.
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know. You tell me what they're going to say, and I'll tell you if I'm going to like it or not.
I'll tell you exactly what they're going to say. You ready for it?
Yep.
Okay. They're going to say that while there have been gains made against the fight against inflation, it still remains well above their 2% target. While there is softening in the labor market, it is still not to the point to where they have to worry or have any concern. They're going to completely and totally ignore any type of consumer issue in any capacity. They're going to ignore oil and energy costs. They're going to ignore anything and everything that touches the bottom line of the majority of Americans. And they're going to continue with the mantra of higher for longer. So they're going to squash any hopes of rate cuts moving forward. They're going to do their best to do that. And that's what they're going to do. They will not raise. They will not raise. They will say higher for longer, something along those lines. But they will not raise this time. They're going to say we'll hear data dependent multiple times. And basically, you can take any of his previous 3 speeches and plug it into this speech, and it's going to be exactly the same.
I don't think I like a Fed Day. I'm tired of hearing the same shit.
That's what they got for us, buddy.
I know. I don't think you're wrong on any of it. I just more jibber jabber.
It's like there's jibber jabber, and then it's like I think what we always have to remember at the end of the day is will always be a disconnect between the market and the economy. That the market is forward looking. The one thing that we can say for sure, the price action over the last 3-4 days has been just trash, man. Just trash. It was to the point, I think, yesterday to where when they get somebody like me afraid to hit the button, they're winning big time. And yesterday I was mortified to hit the button. Absolutely mortified. And you, the past couple of days, have been like, I don't want to touch this shit.
Yep.
It's it's like you're just like, I don't want to touch this. It's like, you put on a couple of good trades, but it's like you don't want to touch it. You're just like, it's like, it's
like, I guess.
Right. It's like 2 a.m. at the bar, and there's only a fat chick sitting there. It's like, well, fuck it, why not? It's like it's one of those deals. So there we go.
Yeah.
And this is what we have.
Yep.
I don't know what to think. It's like the more I think about it, the more disgusted I get with the whole thing. It's like I really am disgusted with the whole Powell thing. And then when I read little things like, oh, he's doing such a great job. The Fed is doing such a wonderful job. It's like, how can you say in any capacity somebody's doing a good job when they had 2 moments in time to not create the shit show that we have now? You were wrong. You were wrong. And now you want to give them credit for kind of maybe being right while at the same time bludgeoning the American people. It's just like I don't. It disgusts me, and that's a real issue I have for myself is separating what I know, what evil is being perpetrated against the American people, and how to trade around that. Always a difficult thing for me. Always, always, always. Um, I don't know that we have a whole lot of news. It's like I think we got a CPI print out of the UK. Looks fine. Nothing scary going on over there. Um, yeah, I don't know that there's a whole hell of a lot more to offer necessarily. I think we have other rate decisions this week too. In addition to ours, I think maybe tomorrow we get rate decision popping off from somebody. Could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I saw that this morning when I was kind of scrolling through things. So no matter what we do and how we react, I think somebody, yeah, Great Britain tomorrow. We also get jobless claims, manufacturing data tomorrow also. So there you have it. But ultimately, all eyes on Powell. Is really all you can say. We did have a nice little pop. We are respecting this trend line that was created, I think, off of yesterday's lows, and then continues to kind of just bounce, dip, and then bounce, dip on it. So right now, that trend line is currently sitting at 15406 on the NQ. It's come down and touched it multiple times and bounced, dipped below it, strong bounce. And so that's where we are. We have a very, very flattish trend line that is trying to walk. Um, so, yeah, that's what I got, man.
All right. Well, let's look at some charts then. How about that?
Sounds good to me.
All right. Well, here's the I'm actually going to back up here. Let's go to a 60-minute so we can see where some of this stuff comes in. Just above here, you can see where the liquidity is sitting, right? What it's kind of going for here. You've got, this is from, what is that, 7 a.m. yesterday, that high, which is 45.09.5. Then you can see this candle that came up into this 60-minute fair value gap and rejected it at 45.14.75. We have a daily fair value gap in here, right in this zone here. And, looking at the daily here, when you're looking at it like that, it's like, right? Kind of looks a little scary. And then you bring in this next daily candle, and it's like, okay, well, if we can clear this and put in a green candle up into this daily fair value gap, but close higher, it starts to look okay again. Yesterday, we pulled right down into this volume imbalance, and that's essentially where it stopped, a couple ticks lower, right? Just through the bottom of that, and then caught support to push back up. So I want to see if we can clear yesterday's high and maybe we trade up into this daily fair value gap and then see what we do with it there. If I go back to the 60-minute, it's like if it trades up in here, this is kind of head on a swivel, right? 45, 19.25. This candle's high that's still sitting out there. Above that would trade into this 60-minute fair value gap. And if they are going to make a run on liquidity and then flip it and bring it back down at 45, 19.25, I mean, they may do it. This is pre-market high here, right? So it could occur right here, or just above here. But each of these levels, as we cross them, you know, I'll be looking for the reaction and kind of see what it does. You've still got this regular trading hours gap sitting up here, 45.40 half is the bottom of that gap, with the top of it being a little bit higher, a couple points higher. So there is a gap that's sitting out there. If you look at the daily or the 60-minute regular trading hours, you'll see that. As far as, you know, what we have below, we got this little pre-market low here from, what is that, 1 a.m. or so, midnight. The midnight open is right in there, 44.84. So a drop below that, I would be looking for a reaction into this 60-minute fair value gap to see if, you know, the goal here was to grab liquidity under these stops to then push it up. I expect more fuckery today, especially, you know, leading into this announcement. It's like, I have no idea what they're going to do with this thing. But these are the levels I'll be watching early and kind of, again, look for that reaction. I drug this chart over just because if you look at the big three here, ES, NQ, Dow, you can see like ES trading into this, and actually it's through it now, that 60-minute fair value gap. You got NQ kind of doing the same thing here. You got the Dow doing the same thing. And right now they're kind of all operating together. NQ was a bit disconnected yesterday. That gave us the signal down here that, okay, maybe the bottom is in. We kind of talked about that, the divergence that took place. NQ was showing strength relative to the other two. If we go into 15-minute, it was right in here. You can see NQ was making these higher candles and had a trend line that was kind of sloping up. And if you see where my cursor's at, the ES and the Dow did not, right? Their candles sloping down, NQ candles were sloping up, and we got that market structure shift. And we were talking about that right down in here. There was divergence, and then we got that market structure shift, and then push, and it was right in here where I took that long that was uncomfortable. We kind of had to sit in a while, but it did, you know, turn out to work out okay. Looking at the three of them together like this on the 15-minute, it's like I'll be looking for that divergence again to see if that exists. Like, okay, maybe the NQ pops this high. You know, maybe the ES does, but the Dow says, Or maybe they just all three operate together, but I'll be keeping an eye on this to see if we get that any sort of divergence there. And lastly, going back to daily, you had got some lines on here. Where they go? I was looking at the daily and the fact that it's right in here. No, it was this candle where my cursor is right here. This is the other thing we saw yesterday is that if you look at the August 29th lows, you had the ES broke it, the Dow broke it, the NQ did not. And that was the other thing we were talking about yesterday is when we start to look for that reversal on some down closed candles and we're looking for a potential reversal into seasonal strength, we look for that divergence to occur like on the daily, where 2 of the 3 indices make a new low and one of them does not and refuses. And from there, we look for a market structure shift like on a 4-hour or on a daily. So I'll be watching, again, we go back to the 4-hour and it's like you can see if NQ pushes through 15,461.75, that would create that potential market structure shift and then maybe get a pullback into a fair value gap and push higher. And that would signal to me that it's likely that the low is in. On the ES, sort of same sort of scenario, except that number, this 4509.25, this down candle right here, I would look for a pop above that and ultimately clear this into this daily fair value gap and then hold that as support, hold above, say, 4509. Could pull back, if it leaves a fair value gap behind in here, could pull back to 4,500, even all the way down here to 4,490. But I wouldn't want to see it break 84.5. And that would kind of signal, okay, market structure shift. Now we can start to push up. And then looking at the Dow on the 4-hour, zoom like this. You could see it kind of form potentially over 35K, but ultimately we want to be up here. 35, 353. We want to get through all of this and stop out all of those sellers. But I think it starts right here above 35K. So just things to watch, see if we get that 4-hour market structure shift that would, after one of the indices failed to make a new low, that could signal that, all right, lows are in, and hopefully we're moving into what typically would be seasonal strength. As far as the clocks go, you'll see I don't know what happened to the sell pressure time, but go to the 10-minute here. There it is. Okay, so times that line up today, and again, this could be a wacky price action type day. Who knows? But I've got a 1050 potential buy pressure on the NQ, 1120 on the ES. So kind of right in here, if you get a pull back in this zone into a fair value gap, that could offer a trade. As far as sell pressure goes, I do have 1330, so 1:30 Eastern lines up for potential sell pressure on NQ and ES. So if you are looking to get short, potentially leading into that 1330, or if you're looking to get long, maybe you get couple red candles in here into a fair value gap that you can look for potential entry, but that's about it on the clocks. I think that's all I got.
All right, man. Nice walkthrough. Sonny, what you got, bud?
I got nothing today, man. To just make up some news. Boeing saying they expect China travel to grow about 11% annually for 20 years. And they expect China to buy like almost 9,000 planes by 2042. They put that out yesterday after hours, and Boeing got a little pump. So I think those dark pools that came in are pretty interesting levels that we need to keep on watch. Qualcomm is set to enter the broadband carrier market. They unveiled their new Wi-Fi platform. I'm going to dig more into that to see what's behind it. Dollar General got downgraded by JP Morgan because they're saying their core customers, which are poor people, have already reached their limit and they may not be able to afford Dollar General. So I'm surprised they're not saying that about Target, Walmart, and the other places, or Dollar Tree. Uh, so that was an interesting statement put
Yeah,
out
it's
by.
very selective in what they're coming through and actually highlighting as far as consumer struggle. It's
Yep.
very selective, even
Yeah,
though it's
but
all for the
yeah,
most part the same consumer. Um, very selective.
yeah, they're cherry picking who they want to go after. Um, Bank of America raised their year-end S&P target to 4,700. Their bear case is 41 and bull case is 4,700. Pinterest issued a $1 billion buyback. They had the investor day yesterday, but it's some good news, guidance, earnings, things like that. They got a nice move up. And they also did get an upgrade by Citi, price target 36. Other upgrades that I liked, BHC, price target 16. Um, Western Digital, uh, Wing, I think that's Wingstop, 200, price target 200. Downgrades are Chewy, Dollar General, Skyworks, and Zebra, ZBRA. That one is a nice mover. Few events today. So Microsoft's having an all-day event where they are expected to give updates and release new hardware, provide updates on their AI innovations, talk about Microsoft 365, Surface, Windows, things like that. And Amazon as well is holding an all-day event where they may introduce new devices and new services. So yesterday the news came out they're looking into healthcare subscription business. So there may be some updates on that. I'll be watching Teladoc and things like that because usually when Amazon comes up with updates like that, Teladoc gets movement. Um, Edge Celsius, they're at the Wells Fargo Consumer Conference today. Walmart is also at the Wells Fargo Consumer Conference. The other one I like a bunch of restaurant names. So we've been getting a flow in restaurant name both on the dark pool side and the flow wise. QSR, YMC, things like that. Few conferences going on, so definitely keep an eye on those things. Dark pool wise, we did get some large dark pools in XLY and XLU. Nike what was it? Almost 18% dark pool that came in after hours. BA another 4%. Roblox and Google got a nice one, 8.5% and 138.04. And that's it.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you very much. Stonks.
Yo, well, let's get into it. We've got burgers that will be potentially smashing. There's only one, and it's going to be over here on the IWM. Reminder again, the smash burger from a Mr. Larry Williams, is a failed breakout. Yesterday, we closed below the prior day's low, which means Larry would be looking for a long if we were to break yesterday's high on the IWM, and we will get an alert that pops in the Roadhouse. So let's keep an eye on that. If we jump over SPY, just barely closed right at the low. So you could, close enough for government work. We know Gavin. That could be right up there. So you could potentially take the breakout above SPY's high from yesterday. And the Qs, similar, closed above the prior day's low. So technically not in play, but I've still the failed breakout on the weekly alert. So we've got to pop above that weekly high. We'll get an alert in the room, but we've got a little ways to go there on the Qs. Let's jump into the chart on the NASDAQ. Got the 4-hour pulled up here. Let's see. So we got this pink line here. That's the new week opening gap. We left a little 4-hour gap below. And this is going to be a really important level we're running up into now, 15,441.25. I've got that marked because the 4-hour body can't hasn't been able to close above that. We keep rejecting that area. So I'd want to see us grab and hold that to continue to the upside. The yellow boxes are daily fair value gaps, and then we've got this 4 hour above. So these would be some upside targets. If we lose new week opening gap and this 4 hour fair value gap, we would run into this daily fair value gap that we've already traded down and through. We keep holding above, so I would want to keep seeing this work as support. And then we've got these volume imbalances below if we had to cut through that we were looking at yesterday. So that's what we got over here on NASDAQ. Maybe even some kind of funky inverse head and shoulders look to it. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder there potentially, but we got to see what Papa Powell's got on deck. Go over to the rusty bag of dicks. I'm going to switch over to the continuous contract because the December contract, we were running out of stuff below and it was looking weak. So I wanted to make sure I had some downside targets if we pushed lower. Similar here on the rusty, we've got a 4 hour gap that was created on this little pop. We've got our new week opening gap above, and we've got this daily line here, this green one. We're similar, daily candles have been kind of respecting this level. So if we're going to push to the downside, I'll be watching for that 1847.30, and then we've got this daily gap below that has potentially room down to 1814.1 if we get going to the downside on the Russell over there. And then similarly above, if we cut through the new week opening gap, we've got this 4 hour line where we're getting a lot of reactions, both when it was working as support on the 4 hour and then potentially resistance as we double topped over there, 1870.3. So a couple levels I'll have on watch over there on the rusty. Take a look at Apple. Apple, let's see, we've been talking about this 179 round number psych level. We're operating just above, kind of a funky one. It's like we've got potentially a left shoulder head. Maybe if we come up into here, we'll see what we get. We've got sitting above, we'd have this 180.20. You can see all the reactions up there, multiple rejection. So we'll see if we can get Apple to pop and close above 180.20. Then we'll be looking for some of these dark pools. I'll be calling those levels out in the room. And then we had weekly inside bars on both AMD and NVIDIA. I'm going to focus on AMD here because we've got this dark pool right above that it's been banging up against. That's going to be 102.61. We couldn't pop and hold above that yesterday. And then below, was looking originally at right around the 100 psych level round number, but moved this up a bit just to see. We've got these candle bodies on the 4 hour that keep banging off this 100.3, and we've been still in this falling setup on AMD. So I'm kind of waiting for these trend lines to break.
So just to add to that, because you're talking about a couple of semis, Micron had a couple of dark pools yesterday, had one this morning that was 5% of average daily at 70.71, and did have some bid side puts yesterday at the same time on Micron. So I don't know, it's sticking with the theme and what I saw. And then you're talking about semis at the same time. Micron has had some interesting activity the last 24 hours.
Nice. Good stuff. Yeah, that's it for me.
All right. Anybody have anything else?
Fed day. Don't fuck it up. Don't try to get too cozy in anything.
Yeah, I think that's it's like respect the trend, obviously, but it's like getting comfortable can be a mistake. It's like there's a couple of areas that at least that I would pay strong attention to. If we dip down into this 15,406 area, that could be an interesting place to maybe play snatch. And then above, talking about the NQ specifically, this area right about 15, it's about 30 points up from here, 40 points up from here, could prove to be tough. Tough. Very tough. So it's like I think they're going to give us a little range to bounce around in, like going into the minutes. That's going to offer some range and some movement. But you just have to make sure that you're careful in what you're doing. We had, as far as individual names, we had good flow in yesterday. We did have some NVIDIA tappers to the upside. Amazon absolutely had good flow to the upside. Apple was very mixed. Tesla flow remains not bearish, for whatever that's worth. And I say not bearish as opposed to bullish just because I'm not seeing put flow on Tesla so far this week. So that's what I got. Anybody have anything else they want to add off of that?
Nada.
Nada. Everybody says nada. All right, very good. We'll see you guys soon.
In a few.